Ladies and gentlemen and in-betweeners, I can't even talk. On this week's On the Rocks Live from Home edition, we welcome personalities from my current quarantine binge watch favorite TV shows with Orlando Soria, host of HGTV's Built Me Up, and Hoarders Dr. Robin Zasio, with my guest co-host, our pop culture correspondent, Stephen Daler, and me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin.
Banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, buttons and bows and pantyhose. On the Rocks podcast, the place where we're too glam to give a damn. The flat earthers are very nervous with all this 6 feet distancing because people are going to fall off the plant. Styles of shirts, caps, and the funkiest socks you've ever seen. Funk things up a little and buy with the Funky Co. That's me in actual casual clothes, if you can believe it. Find them on Facebook, Instagram at thefunkyco.com. Also, the show is brought to you by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our every now over 200 episodes at On the Rocks radioshow.com. Hello to our listeners around the nation on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Pandora, Gay Binge TV, and we're also streaming on Roku and Amazon Fire at OutAt.tv, and HereTV.com, and YouTube's channel Planet Out. Add and subscribe to us on your favorite platform. Like us on Twitter. .com. Send us your questions, your comments, and send nudes. I'm bored. Check out the new issue of Metrosource magazine, the national magazine, LGBT magazine. In my interviews this issue with RuPaul's Drag Race's Michelle Visage, Bob the Drag Queen, and YouTuber Kaylin Allen from The Ellen Show, on newsstands or Metrosource.com. Okay, let me welcome my guest co-host here to keep me on track, Stephen Daler. What? Has been seen in RuPaul's Drag Race, Will and Grace, and Netflix's Cherry Pop, just to name a few. During quarantine, he has made appearances on comedian Sean Pulofsky's social media meltdowns on YouTube. He's here to keep me on track and give us the pop culture scoop. Kurt, can you give us an intro, please? Thank you. On the Rocks is proud to present Pop on the Rocks, your daily dose of Daler with your host, Stephen Daler, bringing us the latest dish in pop culture. Take it away, Stephen. I'll be in the corner drinking. And here I am still drinking. Okay, girl, there's so much happening in pop culture. Give us the 411. What's happening?
This, you know what the funniest thing is that I felt like the last few times I've been on and done the pop culture report, I felt like now I'm starting to hear, what was it, Taylor Swift just dropped an album, Beyonce dropped an album, Dua Lipa's doing a remix album, now apparently Miley Cyrus is coming out with an album, like Katy Perry just dropped an album. Christina Aguilera, like it's just like everyone now is doing all.
You can literally record in your corner. Now I know Barbra Streisand. A lot of people have commented. She literally has a recording booth in her bedroom, and so she zooms into like the London Philharmonic or whatever, and she can record.
That's not new though. A lot of artists have recording studios in their houses. Sure. I know that Todrick, because Todrick would always be so last minute with a lot of his videos, he would actually have the performers come like the day before into his house and record in his booth that he had in his house, or they would yeah, I'm a pianist, and I mean, I couldn't live my life without having either an electric keyboard or an actual piano in my house, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, you know, people are listening to content. People are at home. So now is the time. If you're any type of artist and off. Yeah.
Well, what was it? I was just about to say something and then I completely lost track. But why don't we just continue? Why don't we get into the pop culture report?
Yes. Okay.
I would be remiss if I did not start my report with Beyonce's "Black Is King," which debuted. What was it, on Friday or Thursday night? And I haven't watched it yet, but I watched the release music video that she had put out right before she released the "Black Is King," which the visuals are just insane. I mean, it just keeps getting like better and better. How does Beyonce get better and better with her
video she puts out is like an artist piece. It's out of nowhere. I just love HGTV. So please welcome to the show, Orlando Soria. Hey, girl.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So your promo plays all the time in between all of the other shows, and it's such a fun promo because it shows you dancing in that scene where you're with the empty nest mom and you're doing that little dance. I literally do it every time it plays. That's my cardio for this quarantine.
Oh my God, I wish I had that cardio. I don't care about any of that anymore.
So I love the show when it was called Unspouse Your House, but now it has, I guess, more of a positive spin to it. Build Me Up, which is such a strong title. What was that name change about? What was the rebrand kind of about?
We just really wanted to open it up to all different kinds of scenarios where people are going through different life changes. So it started out as something that came from my real life. I went through a breakup and I found that redesigning my new place was bringing me a lot of joy, and I wanted to figure out how to pay that forward. And this season is all about doing that for all sorts of different people going through all sorts of different kinds of life transitions. So it's been really interesting to see how people respond to it, because last season people were like, "You're a horrible person. You're like all about people getting divorced." And this season people are like, "You're an angel." It's pretty similar, so it's not really that different.
Well, girl, you look fantastic. You're supposed to look terrible like the rest of us.
I think the picture was much better. My lighting isn't great here. Of course, I'm at home, but it's so good to see you again. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, I'm so excited that Hoarders came back. Of course, last season's finale was one of the toughest episodes that I have seen. I mean, it was a 2-hour heartbreaker. You are in such a niche market in your industry, or I would guess market's the wrong word. What made you choose OCD, anxiety disorders as your focus?
You know, I have to tell you, it's this kind of strange path. I was the black sheep in my school getting my doctorate, telling people that I had no interest in talking to people. I had no interest in doing clinical work. I just wanted to work in forensics and work with people that were mentally ill and committed crimes. And one day I found myself in a program that was just starting up with OCD. And in 2 weeks, I changed my whole career path, because everything that we're doing is so behavioral. It's working to change lives, not just to talk about it, but to actually do things different. And as you've seen in Hoarders, I mean, we've had some really tragic outcomes, but we've had some amazing outcomes. And this show, I've been doing this now, I want to say about 13 years. It is like the comeback kid. Wow. It is so amazing.
It is.
And And so I'm really honored to be a part of it.
Well, you are such an important part of it. I mean, you're synonymous with Hoarders, with the special personality that you add to the show, and the care and love that you have for these clients really comes across. Now, in your personal life, what was your first exposure to a hoarding disorder?
Honestly, it was in my clinical work. The reality is not a lot of people seek out help when they're struggling with hoarding behaviors, because they have so much shame, embarrassment, guilt, and they're so worried about what people are going to think or what they're going to do. You know, are they going to lock me out of my house? Are they going to take my kids? What's going to happen? But it was really with the inception of the show Hoarders where people went, oh my gosh, that's not what their goal is. It's kind of like, you know, when there's an incident with a husband and wife with a kid, and you know, they're thinking, oh, the police are going to come and take away my kid. No, they just want to figure out what's going on and what we can do to help. And I think that this show has really showcased that. You know, it's never about a cleanup. It's always about dealing with the issues that have led to the problem.
Now, I have to tell you, I was so surprised when I found out how many people are actually affected by a hoarding type of disorder. It's in the millions. Why do you think that number is so high?
It's very hard to say, but one of the things that we know is that, you know, hoarding disorder is a mental health condition. That's the first thing. The second thing is that there are so many factors that lead to the problem: depression, trauma, perfectionism, believe it or not, social anxiety. And so when those issues aren't dealt with, oftentimes people channel that energy, channel those struggles that they have into other behaviors. And, you know, let's face it, nothing feels better than when you get a great deal, or you're driving along and you see this great chair on the side of the street. You're thinking, oh my gosh, like, I'm never going to find that again. And the thrill that you get, the adrenaline that's running through you in that very moment, it feels so good. And it kind of just takes you away from thinking about the other stuff that is painful.
Do you think it's like a control issue? Is that part of the aspect of it that gives them some sort of control over what their surroundings are, what they have in their life, like the hoarding? That's part of their control.
It certainly can. Again, I think that we don't want to generalize and say this is why people who are struggling with hoarding behaviors do, you know, have the excessive acquisition. It's very, very different, which is why it's so important that people who are struggling uncover and get the help that they need, because the reality is, if they just push through it and they don't think constructively about their decisions, the reality is they are likely going to go back to that behavior again. And that's not what we want. We want, you know, long-term solutions.